Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Diverse Goddess. It's Hannah, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the downfall of celebrity culture, why everything is getting exposed, what it all means, and what does the future look like. So keep watching. So it seems over the last several years, one celebrity after another seems to be getting exposed. First it was Harvey Weinstein with the Me Too movement, and then it was Epstein with his island, and now recently it was Diddy. And what does it all mean? I will give my perspective. I have mentioned before in my mask culture video that the masks are going to be coming off more and more, meaning everything done in the dark is eventually going to come into the light. So everything is eventually going to get exposed. That's one reason. The other reason is because humanity as a collective and as a whole is going through a great transformation or evolution period. And so consciousness wants to evolve, and consciousness is going to evolve one way or another. So in order for consciousness to evolve, it has to bring everything that is not evolved to the surface. So that's on the spiritual side. And I have mentioned in many of my videos prior to this one that we are in like a seed consciousness right now. That is where humanity is at. It's in a seed consciousness. And we're going through an evolution period where we're kind of blossoming out of our narcissism, our greed, and all of those things. But in order to do that, just like a seed, what happens with the seed when it becomes a flower? It has to fight with the gravel. It goes through a lot of chaos before it eventually comes into the light. But that's what's happening, is that consciousness is bringing everything that's unconscious to the surface. Now, that's on the spiritual side, but the people in power, they may not see it that way. The people in power, the reason why they are willing to expose more and more is because they actually don't want to hide anything anymore. They don't want anything left in the dark because they have been doing a lot of things in the dark for a long time, and they're kind of tired of it. They just want to do it out in the open. And so they will throw certain celebrities out into the public, expose them as sort of sacrificial lambs, and they're also sort of testing the public to see how the public responds to their truth, to see how much they can get away with, and to see if the public is even going to do anything about the truth. Furthermore, if you make a deal with the devil never truly has your best interest in mind, and so the devil will always come to collect. And so these celebrities that are getting exposed one by one, you could kind of say the devil is coming to collect. And I have always said on this channel that things are far more spiritual than most people understand or most people know. Well, some people know, but from my experience, most people really do not understand the gravity of how much life is truly spiritual. And there is, I guess you could say, a spiritual war going on. It's more of a DNA war, but I don't need to get into all of that. And I don't even want people to see it as so much of a war. It's more of a spiritual cleansing that's going to be taking place and is taking place. And because life and consciousness is going through this cleansing process, it's almost equivalent to cleaning house, for example. And what happens when you clean house that is extremely messy and one that hasn't been cleaned for a very, very long time? You might lift up a floorboard, and what do you see in there? You might see some bugs, some mold, some, like a lot of ugly shit. But all that shit needs to be cleaned, and you need to see it in order to know that it needs to be cleaned. And oftentimes when you clean a really messy house, what often happens? Things get very messy before they get cleaned completely. And so there has been so much in the collective humanity that has gone unseen and even ignored for so long. I'm talking centuries and centuries. And so we're in a time period right now where things are just getting exposed. The truth is coming to the surface. And it's not just going to be people in the public eye. It's going to be everybody. So your friends, family, co-workers, everybody and everything is getting exposed, and the truth is coming to the light. So people that you might have thought were extremely loving and caring, you're going to start to see their real face. Hence, the masks are truly coming off. And people that you might have deemed as being strange and unusual or just different, you're going to start to see their true gifts and real beauty come to the surface. because we have been living in a time frame, or we've been living in a world where things are not always what they appear, but everything is gonna be seen for what it really is, and that includes people. It's almost as if life and consciousness is correcting itself because we have been living so backwards for so long. And it's correcting itself because so far, and up until this point, the world has belonged to and ruled by the unevolved and the psychopaths. But it can't remain that way. So life and consciousness will evolve one way or another. So the exposure of everything is just the beginning of those positive changes. So on a positive note, the future, because life is correcting itself, and this is going to be way in the future, I'm not sure how long it's going to take, it might not even be in my lifetime, but the future is going to belong to those who have been done wrong and those who have been scapegoated. That's why I'm going to be sharing my own personal experience of being a scapegoated child, but it's going to belong to everyone who has been done wrong. So it's almost like life is going to have a flip. And so, for example, women have been done wrong, and children as a whole have been done wrong. And those who've been falsely accused, like say those in the prison system, there's a lot of bullshit going on in that area where there's a lot of people in prison who don't belong there. And people who do belong there are running around in three-piece suits and running shit. And so the future is going to belong to the evolved. So the future is not going to belong to the psychopaths anymore. The future is going to belong to those who have done the inner work and who have evolved past their narcissism. And because there has been this exposure, especially with celebrities, and people are starting to connect the dots and people are starting to see things for what they are, people are already starting to move away from celebrities and they're starting to get over them, so to speak. And there will be this massive shift away from celebrity culture, and there'll be more of a shift towards those who are authentic and real. And because life is going through this evolutionary period or transformation period from, like I said, what I like to call seed consciousness, it's finally blossoming, and we're still in the seed consciousness, if you will. We're just fighting through the gravel. So that means, will things get messy? Yes, they will get messy. However, not everybody is going to experience it the same way. Not everybody is going to experience this so-called mess that's going to come, or that we're already kind of in the beginning phases of, the same way, because those who have been on the path and have been doing the inner work is not going to feel much. However, those who have not been on the path and who have not been doing the inner work, they're going to feel a lot of stress. And the people who have not really been doing the inner work, those people are basically the ones who have been on the spectrum of narcissism. And so, yes, they will be the ones who are going to stress out the most. So let me give you a visual. It'll be like ice in a glass, for example. The ice has become hard, and we'll call the ice and have that represent the narcs and psychos of the world, or even the ones in your everyday personal life. The water, on the other hand, is going to represent those who have always been doing the work, so to speak, or the inner work. The ice will merge with the water eventually. It has to become one. At some point, there will no longer be any ice. It will all just melt down, and it will just be one thing, pure water. Now, for the people who have been like ice this whole time, it'll feel very stressful for them because, again, they're the ones going through the most transformation, because they're the ones melting down. And so it'll feel like a death to them. It'll feel very stressful. And they might even scream saying, "I'm melting," kind of like the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz. And those who have always done the inner work and have been on the path, so they will be considered the water. And because they were water already, they are not going to feel much because they were already water, if that makes sense. But that doesn't mean that the water isn't going to witness the madness of the ice. That doesn't mean that the water isn't going to see everything unfold as well. So that's another reason why everything is getting exposed, is because there is a merging taking place. So the good, the bad, and the ugly is all getting put out on the table. And so human beings can look at it and say, we don't want this anymore. Like, we don't want this ugly anymore, and we can rise above it. And so like I said, there is a merging taking place with the ice and the water, and it's just going to merge together and become pure water. There are a lot of agendas going on and taking place, but the sooner humanity as a whole wake up and the sooner humanity as a whole heal, the better everything is going to get. Everything is also getting exposed so people can make a choice. And so, like I said, everything is getting put out onto the table, the good, the bad, the ugly, so people can choose for themselves what they want the world to look like. And so I already know what I choose, and I choose to raise up out of this hell. And there are going to be some people who choose hell and want to stay there. And for those people, I would say, good, you belong there. And I already know that I made this choice a long, long time ago, even as a child, and I didn't even know it. But we are in a choice point for everybody. Everybody is going to have to make a choice for themselves. And because everything that has been done in the dark is going to come to the light, it also says, I'm not biblical, but it does say that those who have been seen last will be first, and those who have been first will be last. And that's exactly the power structure we have been in. It's been that people who have been seen as first are basically the psychopaths of the world. And those who have been seen last are actually the people who are extremely gifted, evolved, have a heart. And so, like I said, the world is going to belong to those who are evolved in the future. And so women will rise, children will rise, the so-called poor will rise. The power structure of this world is starting to collapse, and it's starting to collapse with the exposure and the downfall of celebrity culture. And even though life is correcting itself, and it will, those that are in power now will do everything in their power to stay at the top. And so things may get worse before they get better. And I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say this anyway. And those who know what I'm talking about will know what I'm talking about. And those who don't know will find out in the future what I'm talking about. But there's going to be more exposure of everything. And there's going to be more exposure of celebrities, more and more. It's not just going to be Diddy, it's going to be more of them. And they're going to throw more of them out there as sacrificial lamb. And like I said, it's a dual purpose. On one hand, it's life and consciousness way of putting everything out on the table so we can see what's really been going on behind closed doors. But it's also because the powers that be don't want to hide their shit anymore. And in order not to hide their shit anymore, they do need the masses under mass control. So there's going to be more push for control. And they will be pushing more and more control because they want to expose more and more things. And not to alarm anybody, but some of the things that are going to get exposed, there's going to be a massive push for pedophilia, bestiality, cannibalism, Luciferianism. And these things are going to get exposed and pushed on a level and a scale that the world has never seen. So buckle up. Now, there's also going to be celebrities who have been on the fence, so to speak, and they will voluntarily jump ship themselves, meaning they will repent and they will jump ship. And how they can repent, because some celebrities do want to repent, they will repent by exposing themselves. And not to go into alien talk, but there's going to be more exposure on aliens as well. People will no longer be able to deny the realities of what's been going on in this world any longer. The collective shadow will come to the forefront in all its ugliness, basically. And the downfall of celebrity culture is just a part of that. And as I've mentioned, I'm going to cover and go over all things scapegoats on this channel. So I'm going to be going over the power dynamics going on, and it's almost as if those in power right now are like the narcissistic parent and the masses are like the scapegoated children. But I'm going to go into all of that in more as I post more videos. Basically, right now we're going to be going into a very intense shift. And in the long run, it's actually going to be for the betterment of everybody. But in the short run, it might seem a bit chaotic. We are in a time and going into a time of truth, exposure, and transformation. People will have to and will be forced to tap into their discernment more and more. And people will have to tap into their spiritual power more and more. Life and consciousness is no longer going to allow people to run from their inner demons and suppress them. Narcissism and those type of pathologies will no longer be supported. But on the other hand, there's also going to be this push for authenticity, compassion, realness. Like I said, people are going to start to crave more realness and real honesty and truthfulness. And ultimately, in the end, the world is going to belong to the divine once again. It's going to belong back to the source. It's always belonged to the source, but it's like I said, everything is correcting itself because nature and life, and I guess you could call her the Divine Mother, has allowed certain entities and certain humans and certain things to play themselves out for so long that now she's going to be taking her power back. And like I said, the world is going to belong to those who are seen last, and those who have been seen first are going to be last. And so the world is going to belong to the divine and not the anti-divine. And it's not a time for any more divisions. For example, good or bad is no longer going to exist. Black and white is no longer going to exist. There's going to be a merging into one consciousness, the true divine. And all of these divisions that we've created are going to come to an end. We're in a time period of truth and only truth. And the truth is rising, period. And people are going to want a new power structure or no power structure at all. They're going to want something that's not based on hierarchy, but based on community and unity. And so on that positive note, I'm actually going to wrap up and end today's video. And if you have any questions or comments or things you'd like to add, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. And I will see you in the next video. Bye! Exposed. It's almost as if life is starting to correct itself because we have been living so backwards for so long. And so people that you have thought were maybe nice and loving and caring, really?